How's it going, guys? Today's topic, I want to discuss in full detail traditional IRA withdrawals and really understand the good, the bad, the ugly. What is a traditional IRA account? When you accumulate a traditional IRA account and you leverage dollars from rollover monies from like a qualified retirement plan, you place it into a traditional IRA. Why would you want to do that? And most importantly, the 30,000 foot view is what you need to know about traditional IRA withdrawals in order to achieve your dream retirement, in order to get you to that point B, that ideal retirement date, removing financial stress, and then ultimately removing deathbed regrets so you could live your retirement with ease, with confidence, and know that you did everything correctly because you have certain areas padded up correctly. You have your worst case scenario covered, you have your middle of the road scenario covered, and you have your best case scenario covered, and it's all kind of working in tandem with one another. So for starters, what do you need to know about leveraging a traditional IRA? And understand that a traditional IRA is very powerful because you could customize specific goals, specific accumulation goals, specific retirement goals, whether it be for income, emergency needs, growth related needs, and make sure that you're optimizing each IRA to its specific lane. So the large misconception is that an individual just needs to have one IRA account, and that's definitely not the case. So like as an example, if someone's working for a company and they have a 401k account, and they've been placing monies into that, they've been getting a match, they've been growing that account, and all of a sudden now they start nearing their retirement years, and they're eligible to take that 401k and roll it over into an IRA, a traditional IRA, that full rollover would go into one IRA account. But then once it's in the IRA, you can now transfer it to different types of IRAs that are serving a specific purpose. So like as an example with an income IRA, with an income IRA, the whole premise of that is to maximize what your income need is. So if you're looking at a typical retirement scenario, when an individual is no longer working, they're no longer making that paycheck. They're no longer having that occupational paycheck. So now they have to rely on their assets, their buckets that they've accumulated. So if maybe they're receiving Social Security income, that's a guaranteed income source. Maybe they're receiving a pension plan. That's another income source. Maybe they're having rental properties, and it's very reliable. So that could be another reliable income source. But maybe there's a gap sitting there, or they don't have the rental properties. They don't have a pension plan. They're just stuck with a very basic Social Security income stream. Based on if they took it at 62, 65, 67, and what that dollar amount is, they're still going to have expenses. And those expenses are going to be somewhere along the lines of when the individual was working. Maybe it might be slightly reduced because they're not going to be traveling as much. They might have a house paid off, whatever that is. But there's ways on how you could back up into the math to say, okay, if I have this large IRA that I received because I rolled over my old 401k account, maybe it's sitting at 600,000. Maybe out of that 600,000 IRA, it would require 200,000 of that 600 to go into IRA number 2, and the IRA number 2 is going to now spit off the income that you need that's going to close up the gap of what your expenses are. So taking a step back, let's say if somebody does their budgeting analysis and they understand that their expenses in retirement are going to be around $5,000 a month or 60 grand per year. But their Social Security income, and we're going to take taxes off the table because I just want you to kind of see the simple math behind it. Obviously, taxes are a large portion off of what that calculation is. But let's say that Social Security income is coming to this individual $3,000 per month. So their goal or their need is $2,000 per month. Is $5,000 per month. They are receiving $3,000 per month from Social Security income, but they don't have any other income sources coming to them. So out of their $600,000 initial IRA account, if they transfer 200,000 to IRA number 2 and then turn on an income stream from or create a type of income strategy with that IRA number 2, maybe out of that 200,000, it's going to give them that extra $2,000 per month of lifetime income. So you would now have Social Security, IRA number 2, that's now covering your income related base. What's left over? Well, what's left over is now 400,000 sitting in that original IRA account. So that's where it goes to the emergency stage. I need, 6 to 12 months of whatever my expenses are in case of an oh my gosh moment was to occur. I need that, entirely liquid. So that might require, in that example, you take 50,000 from the 400,000 left over and create IRA number 3, and that's going to be sitting in a type of money market account, type of savings account held within an IRA that is not going to be subject to downward market risk. It's not going to be subject to fees, and just ultimately going to be an emergency fund sitting there in case of that oh my gosh moment was to occur, and they could basically pay off for those funds. Now it leaves, we had starting out at 600,000, you transfer 200,000 to IRA number 2, you had 50,000 going to IRA number 3. So now you have 350,000 remaining that could be either left over in IRA number one, or now you could take that 350 and splice it up into a whole slew of different uses. So maybe you might have 100,000 that's going to be in a fixed only related IRA account. You could have another 100,000 that's going to be sitting in very aggressive investments to beat out the pace of inflation. You could have that third IRA account that's just kind of sitting in a moderate blend, maybe with some different investments, different things that could kind of ebb and flow with the market, but still have some hedge against downside market risk. So the possibilities are endless whenever you're leveraging IRA accounts, but just be mindful, you don't have to use one type of IRA to hit a jack of all trades off of what your ideal retirement scenario is. You could go by optimizing each lane correctly. You could use the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary to get you, to that destination, to make sure that you're eliminating that financial stress. You're taking all that stuff off the table so that you could use it properly. How are traditional IRA accounts created? Well, you could either place contributions into it each year, or you could use dollars from when you're eligible to roll over your qualified retirement accounts, through your employer. So once again, if you had a 401k account, or you had a 403b, or maybe you work for the federal government, you have a thrift savings plan, or you work for a municipality, maybe you have a 457 plan. Those are qualified retirement accounts, just meaning the way that they're taxed. You got a tax deduction off of your contributions. It's growing tax deferred. So when it comes time for retirement, you start taking dollars from that account, it's going to be fully taxable. So when it comes time to roll over those monies, you want to make sure that if it's qualified retirement account, you're keeping it within that qualified tax deferred status so that you could easily transfer it or roll it over into the IRA and then have those, those different uses within that traditional IRA. Like I mentioned, one for income, one for emergency, one for growth, one a whole, plethora of different options. If you want to also add in maximum, inheritance maximization or whatever that case might be, each individual is going to be different. But I just want you to understand that the power and the control that you have by placing them into traditional IRAs is because the customization opportunities are endless, much better than going with a very basic, 401k employer sponsored plan, especially when you start nearing the ideal retirement date. So now that you know how to leverage an IRA and the different uses of the IRA, what are some of the problems or the most common problems with traditional IRA accounts and how to ultimately avoid some of those common mistakes? And the number one problem is really just the way it's taxed. These dollars are monies that you've either contributed to, and anytime you're making contributions into that traditional IRA account, you're getting a tax deduction. The monies are growing within that traditional IRA tax deferred. So when it comes time that you start hitting that ideal retirement date and you start taking withdrawals from it, it's going to be fully taxable. Same thing, if you were placing monies in a 401k, you're making contributions, you were getting a tax deduction off of where you contributed. They grew that account by the contributions you made, the contributions of the match, the growth on that bucket. And if you took that 401k and rolled it over into a traditional IRA, then it kept it from qualified to qualified. But that taxation is going to still remain in those same parameters. So when it comes time you want to start taking withdrawals from that IRA, it's going to be fully taxable. So this is where, even though you might see a much larger bucket that's sitting in a traditional IRA, what does the net amount result to? So like were you actually able to get out of that bucket? So like as an example, if somebody had a $700,000 traditional IRA account or they had a $600,000 Roth IRA account, which one is most effective? Well, it depends on what your tax bracket is and a couple of other areas. But let's just say if you had to pay 30% in taxes, well, that's 30% that's coming off of that $700,000 bucket the further and further you're taking withdrawals throughout the course of your lifetime throughout retirement. Versus the Roth IRA account is $600,000. You're able to fully pull out that $600,000 and not have to pay any taxes on it because you did not get the tax deduction. The monies grew tax free, and now you're able to pull your monies out tax free. So the problems with that traditional IRA is not only the fact that you're going to have to claim that money as ordinary income, but then it could also push your Social Security income taxation, that calculator known as provisional income, that could also push that up and therefore result in you having higher Social Security taxation for something that maybe if you're taking it from a tax-free related bucket. So that's some different things to be mindful of. If you do have a traditional IRA, you could do something known as a conversion, meaning that you could convert those dollars or a portion of those dollars each year from that traditional IRA into that Roth IRA related status. But you have to be careful when doing so because any dollar that you're converting is going to be fully taxable at that time. So you want to be very careful and make sure that it's in line with really what your ideal retirement goal is, to make sure you're not converting too many dollars too quickly, or you don't have the taxes, you don't have enough money to basically pay off those taxes as you're doing the conversion. Even though obviously tax-free money is better than taxable money, especially with the question marks of what the tax rates are going to be in the future. The other really important negative to traditional IRA accounts is when you're not trying to segment, you're not trying to customize your specific accounts for a specific goal. So what I mean by that is, in the previous section, I was telling you about how you could leverage an IRA, and you could break it up into what your income need is, what your emergency need is, and then what your growth-related need is. And ultimately, the goal is to try to leave as much money in that growth-related bucket as possible. But that doesn't mean you go with a growth-related mindset to take care of your income needs and your emergency-related needs. In order to be most effective with an income-related, to accomplish an income-related need, you want to create an income-related strategy. So different things that could give you much higher cash flow, much higher lifetime income cash flow may not work well on the growth side, and vice versa. You don't want to shove a bunch of money towards an income-related strategy or an income-related product if you have a growth-related need that's going to accomplish your ideal retirement scenario. So that's where using a growth strategy for income is a bad thing, and using an income strategy for growth is a bad thing. You should go and optimize each lane. Use the smallest dollars only as much as necessary for your income-related needs, so that your Social Security, your pension, your income-related IRAs, all of those are working in tandem with one another, and it's giving you that baseline to cover your expenses, be greater than or equal to your expenses. Then whatever you have left over, that's what you could leverage for emergency-related needs. I have 6 to 12 months of what my typical expenses are. I want to have in some sort of liquid account that I could pull from at the drop of a hat in case of that oh my gosh moment was to occur. Whatever is the smallest dollars only as much as necessary in that emergency need, then you have left over in your growth related need. The growth related need could be leveraged for inheritance maximization, could be leveraged as a type of long-term care play for like a medical related expenses or a medical related risk later on, something that Medicare doesn't cover. Could be used as really just a vacation fund, as really my splurge account, my hobby account. That could be another use. You could also leverage it for an inflation related hedge. Maybe something that you have created for the income strategy and the emergency strategy that's not going to keep pace with inflation. So that's why you have these tertiary bucket or different types of buckets in the growth related strategy. You have those now working into something that could hedge against inflation, so that if inflation is skyrocketing, then you could liquidate those accounts and pay for whatever that difference is in the cost of goods and services. So there's so many different uses there. And then the last point was really just increases in provisional income calculation, which could result in higher Social Security income taxation, which I mentioned. It's traditional IRA is a qualified pre-tax retirement account. Any dollar you're pulling out is going to be counted as ordinary income. That's going to be counted towards your provisional income calculation, and therefore could result in up to 85% of your Social Security income could be taxed at what your tax bracket is. So if there's ways on how you could place your pieces in the correct areas and leverage it efficiently and effectively and get tax-free Social Security income, that's obviously going to be significantly more effective, meaning that you have to work significantly less days, and you're able to use those buckets at a much more powerful way than just kind of staying with the status quo and just I'd have to pay these taxes and I'm not going to create a strategy for it. That's not being hands-on. That's basically just hoping that everything's going to work out, as opposed to actually coming in there with a specific strategy and giving you that peace of mind, removing that financial stress. All these little tricks and tips. This is what you need to do in order to make sure that you're able to live that the ideal retirement scenario with peace of mind, without financial stress, so that when you do hit that ideal retirement date, you could live every single day knowing that you're not going to have deathbed regrets. So regardless of whichever stage you're at, typically it's most effective to look at IRA withdrawal strategies when you're at least above the age of 59 and a half. But the best way to kind of create solutions and to create this proper trajectory is figure out what is your dream retirement and write that down, journal it down, say, hey, I want to make sure I'm waking up every single morning, I'm doing XYZ. I'm working out, I'm visiting kids, grandkids, I'm doing this hobby, I want to basically travel a couple of times per month or throughout the course of the year. I want to go to Europe, whatever that is. Write it down as detailed as possible, and then say, okay, what exactly is this going to cost me? What are my current expenses? What are my expenses projected to be at that ideal retirement date? And then if I'm adding on these little extras, if I'm doing these little hobbies or these different things that may cost money, how can I back up into the math? What do I have to account for? And be mindful that you have these different stages of life. When you hit your retirement years, you have something called the go-go years. So it's go-go years, slow-go years, and no-go years. Go-go years means you're constantly on the go. I just retired, great, I want to enjoy my life. Well, then after maybe 5, 7, 10 years, you might want to slow down. So that's where the slow go years. Instead of taking those trips, 4 times throughout the course of the year, you might take 1 trip every couple of years. That's where you start slowing down. That's known as the slow go years. And then you kind of have the depression stage, which is known as the no go years. And that's saying, hey, I'm going to doctor's visits and I'm just hoping that I'm going to live as long as possible. But ultimately, I'm not going to be doing any vacations because it just, my body hurts so much. My body's breaking down. And I have to make sure that my importance is focused on my medical care and really my long-term care related needs. So that's how, by really taking what that vision is and then putting some math behind it, that's how you're able to really create that trajectory. And that's something that we help individuals out all across the country on a daily basis. Is if they're really unsure of whether or not they're going to be able to live that retirement situation and live it with confidence and remove that financial stress. Then that's what we try to do, is paint that picture for them and just try to provide some sort of value to you at any stage of this process. So if you're interested in having a conversation, you want more clarity on your specific situation, we're offering a free 20-minute connection call for any individuals that either click on the calendar link, which is embedded in the description of this video, or you could simply call our 1-800 number up on the screen. It's 1-800-566-1002. And really, that's just known as the connection call stage, where we try to get an inch wide, mile deep, what's most important to you, and then try to provide some value. There's many times that individuals try giving us a call and we can't help out their situation, but at least we'll try to provide them with free resources and kind of let them know how they could do it themselves. But the things that we do well, we do very well, and we're better than anyone else in the country. At that safety and those retirement income planning strategies and making sure that you're able to have that peace of mind throughout your retirement years and know that you could truly live every single day with possibility. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. If you found value in this, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you could have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.